Sony's PlayStation Classic launch lineup has been revealed, and it's not very classic. If you don't know, the PlayStation Classic is Sony's answer to Nintendo's NES Classic, which takes an updated, smaller version of the Classic system and puts 20 so-called classic digital games on it for $99. There are no plans to add more content post-launch, so this is what you get forever. Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy VII, Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Revelations Persona, Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Twisted Metal, and Wild Arms. Around half of these games have already been available on the PlayStation Classic section of the PS3 store for the last 10 years, where they cost $5.99 each to download digitally. In fact, if you're looking for classic games of the PS1 era, that's where you should go instead. They've got every Crash and Spyro, including CTR, Rayman as well, Toy Story 2, and tons more. If you already have a PS3, you should not get this system, unless you think like 3 of the games on there are rare enough to spend $99 on. I had a PS1 growing up, and of the 20 games that will be on the Classic, I have played 3 of them: Rayman, Siphon Filter, and Twisted Metal. I also played a ton of other games that are notably not on the list, such as Crash, Spyro, Croc, Gex, Fighting Force, Bloody Roar, Apocalypse, Bugs Bunny, the other 3 Twisted Metals. Where are all the fucking games on this system, man? What kind of bogus selection is this? Where are all the animal mascots? No Spyro, no Crash, no Croc, no Gex. Sure, the remakes of Crash and Spyro are out or coming out, but having the originals available for nostalgia on a system literally built for nostalgia would have been a good idea. I was seeing comments on PlayStation's blog posts like, "Man, can't wait, this lineup is great. Bitch, have you played any of the most popular PS1 games of the console generation? Because they ain't here." Here's what I'll recognize as good selections, even if I haven't played them myself. Final Fantasy VII, sure. It's like the most revered one, I'm told, because Aerith dies in it, and oops, I spoiled it, now it's not worth buying. Resident Evil Director's Cut, that's probably good. The start of an acclaimed series, fine, solid selection. Same with Revelations Persona as a Persona entry since Persona 5 was so popular. Tekken 3 is a Tekken game, and Tekken is a classic fighting game. I was a Bloody Roar guy myself in the PS1 days, but sure, I acknowledge it, especially if Tekken 3 is the one that has volleyball and like the minigames in it, which I remember were fun. Metal Gear Solid is a series starter, sure. Grand Theft Auto, sure. One of the problems here, though, is there's nowhere to go. You finish the first of an acclaimed series, then what? The sequels aren't here, you're just done. If this is your only foray into technology of the past, like if you were a late bloomer in the gaming world or you're a small child who wasn't born for that shit, you have no means of continuing the series you have started without outside purchases. This is essentially a collection of free samples at Baskin-Robbins designed to whet your appetite and fuel some thrifty shopping. I wasn't getting it before I knew the full lineup, but now I'm like really not getting it. Let's talk about hyper-realism in video games, which means let's talk about Red Dead Redemption 2 again. I can boil it down to one basic tenet. Realism is impressively annoying. It's impressive and it's annoying. It's wow, followed by ugh. Realism graphically is great. Nobody complains about how detailed a vista is, but realism functionally often leads to unnecessary frustration and inconvenience. Graphical realism is impressive, functional realism is annoying. In Red Dead Redemption 2, you have to eat regularly to keep your health up, but if you eat too much, your character gets fat. You have to sleep regularly or your performance suffers. You even have to bathe regularly or townsfolk will treat you differently. Compared to a game like Skyrim, where eating and resting were completely optional avenues I never used because I didn't have to and was glad to not have to, and you've got an awful lot of self-maintenance to perform to keep the game enjoyable for minutes at a time until the next hyper-realistic survival or hygiene requirement demands your attention. Your horse's stamina suffers if it hasn't been brushed in a while. It also needs to be fed and bonded with and kept alive, or you have to get a brand new horse and start that shit over from scratch. There's a whistle range, and if you're too far away from your horse when you beckon it, it won't come, leaving you stranded on foot, and when it does come, it trots over in 30 seconds of real time instead of conveniently spawning behind you, because realism is so fun. I love whistling for my horse and then feeling like I'm at a bus stop waiting for the 10:45 back to my camp, which I have to spend 10 minutes galloping to because fast travel is not only restrictive, but not immediately available. Everything that was done in Red Dead Redemption 2 in the name of realism was ritualized at the sacrificial altar of fun and enjoyment. They slit the throat of the goat of convenience so they could pray for your character's hat to fall off after every brawl and shootout and make you scavenge the whole field to retrieve it or else go bareheaded until you find another one. That is so stupid. Who likes hunting for their fucking hat after every encounter? Arthur loses his hat more often than a bulimic model loses her lunch. It's not fun. It's frustrating and annoying, but whoa, hashtag realism though. It's so weird to me because everybody is talking about how impressive yet not fun the realism is, but these hot takes are coming from the same publications that gave the game 9.5s and 10 out of 10s, like, hey, we'll make sure you have a great launch week by burying our complaints, but we'll get honest after the fact so people still think we have credibility. If a game overdoes the quality to the point where it becomes a burden, should that negatively impact the score? Are game review scores about objective effort or how good the experience of playing them is? I'd have said the second one, and I'd have thought everybody agreed on that point until now. That's why Skyrim got Game of the Year when it did, even though it looked like ass and had a mess of glitches. It was engrossing and fun, and there wasn't a bunch of annoying concessions made in the name of realism at the cost of player experience. Now that I think about it, I am actively worried about Elder Scrolls 6. Because Bethesda is behind it, and their recent push for survival elements in Fallout 76 and a multiplayer-centric experience that cuts out all NPCs and leaves the world barren and lifeless does not bode well. I know I advocated favorably for it when it was first announced and detailed at E3, but based on gameplay footage YouTubers are starting to put up, it just looks completely soulless and directionless. If they're willing to do that to Fallout, who knows what they'll do to Elder Scrolls 6? Maybe they'll go Red Dead Redemption 2's route and vote for hyper-realism, make your character have to eat and sleep, take care of its horse, drastically lower its carrying capacity, toss out fast travel, squat every 30 minutes to shit, nurse elemental status effects for weeks, have to cycle through outfits and armor pieces based on how people will perceive you, add weapon durability, just a bunch of cumbersome garbage that only serves to press the pause button on your progress and momentum. Skyrim had that one mission where you had to wear fancy clothes at a party, and that was the low point of the entire game for me. I absolutely hate having to change my clothes for any reason in a video game. Same with South Park, making you equip the gas mask or wear goth clothes to talk to the goth kids. My outfit is my outfit, and I don't compromise. And it's not just in-game consequences we're talking about here. The pursuit of hyper-realism lengthens development time and costs buckets of cash more to produce, which in turn justifies more expensive and prolific microtransactions and portion-slicing DLC offerings. It's not a positive change inside or outside, and I think it's going to become a much more prevailing problem that people won't recognize until we're already deep in it. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino, and you can support the channel on Patreon at patreon.com/sunburn, Albino. And I'll see you guys next time.